Bartolozzi from OptimoRoute. We have a lot of people joining, so I'm just gonna give it one more minute, and then we will get started with the webinar. So thanks for joining. We'll be ready to go in about 30 seconds. Again, just waiting for some more people to filter in because they're still filtering as we speak. So I think we'll get started. We did give people about another 30 seconds, but I think we're ready to go. Thanks for everybody who's joining us today. Thanks to all the OptimoRoute customers who are joining our second webinar. I'm excited about this one because this is one that when we did our poll in the previous webinar, it was OptimoRoute tips and tricks that came up as the most heavily requested. So we're super excited about that. We are going to be joined by our leader from our customer success side, as well as one of our implementation engineers. So we've got the right people to kind of give you the ins and outs of OptimoRoute. We also have some time planned at the end for questions, either on anything that we've covered today or any questions you might have in particular about OptimoRoute. So you use the chat feature. We'll go through the presentation, but as you have questions, just put them into chat and we'll cover everything that came across from the audience at that point. But without further ado, let's get into why we're here today. The first person I'm going to introduce is one of my colleagues here at OptimoRoute, Devin, who runs our customer success side of the house. And so I'm going to let Devin introduce himself and also introduce customer success as a whole.
Perfect. Thank you, Bart. So yeah, for my introduction, I am Devin. I've been with OptimoRoute for about 7 years, so there's some people who are joining this webinar that may, at the very least, recognize my name. I am now part of the customer success team, and basically, as far as an overview or recap of what customer success does, I essentially work closely with businesses and users of OptimoRoute to ensure that they're able to achieve the goals that they have set out for OptimoRoute, help them continue to grow and scale, of course, with the use of OptimoRoute, and discuss and work on different workflows that are going to be just the most useful and beneficial to allow for them to continuously reach whatever great returns and results they're looking for. So yeah, that's me in my position right now in a nutshell.
Thanks, Devin. Another colleague I'm happy to introduce is Adrian, who runs or is one of our implementation engineers. Again, I'll let you give a sense of, Adrian, what implementation engineers do here at OptimoRoute as you make your introduction as well.
Would love to. Hi, everyone. My name is Andrew, and I'm part of the implementation team. We deal with all things integration and complicated workflows. We work with your business to leverage OptimoRoute to expand your operations and get the most out of the software.
Great. Thanks for that, Andrea. So I think, as I mentioned, we're excited about jumping right into the heart of this presentation. This is the one that you guys wanted to see the most. And so when we thought about tips and tricks, and we'll do more of these sessions, but the areas we thought we'd cover this time are twofold. The first one being really workflow tips and tricks that might make your business process better, quicker, faster, more efficient. And so, Devin, with that in mind, I'll toss the first one over to you. Is there a tip and trick that, from a workflow perspective, you'd like to share with the audience today?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I had in mind was to touch on the way that we can move orders to basically ensure, let's say, an analytical track record, and basically make sure that orders are going to appear as they should, where they should in a route. What I'm talking about more specifically is moving an order from one day to another. There are two ways to do that. One is you can go in and actually change the date of an order. This is just in the edit order field. I'm sure everybody's familiar with this screen. Basically, with the date here, we can move it to whatever other day that we wish to actually complete a job. Now, that's fine, so long as the order hasn't been touched, even if it's simply scheduled, but if there's been any sort of status update by the driver, so let's say they've marked it as, more importantly, failed or rejected, um, if you want to move that to another day, the best course of action is to actually copy that order. So what copying does is it's going to allow you to basically do the exact same thing that you would do with editing. Um, However, it disregards or leaves behind the new status that it has. So it's no longer failed. You'll see here it's now marked as unscheduled. But more importantly, it allows you at any point to go back when you're reviewing any given day. You'll still have a record of that job or that delivery being attempted, and so by having that, you can have that full track record of how many times did I actually try to visit this customer. It keeps things a little bit more clear, I guess, when you want to go back and have that review.
Cool, Devin. I think you touched on it in brief, but just so I can understand it better, what this approach, this tip really would make sure that if you go back and look at your analytics, kind of understanding how your week went, whether you got orders completed or not, this would keep that more data to keep the data integrity going forward. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to describe it. It allows the data and the routes to maintain their integrity so that you know exactly what happened every single day.
Cool. Thanks for that. Andrea, same question over to you. If there's a tip or a trick that really you see as something that's going to help a business workflow for the audience today.
Absolutely. I'm going to talk about a nifty little trick you can use when expanding your business. Expansion of any business is always an exciting and challenging time. And this is where I'm going to teach all of our guests here tonight how to use OptimoRoute to monitor the expansion of your business. What I have here on screen is Boston. And this is a use case that we dealt with quite recently. Obviously, it's a replica. This isn't their exact data. This is something we've set up. But what we have here is we have a cleaning business with a number of cleaning technicians and their routes throughout the city of Boston. But what happened in this particular use case is this company purchased a similar company down in Providence, Rhode Island. And they came to us saying, hey, we want a way to monitor both of these cities without having to go through different accounts. And so what we did was we set up a secondary depot by moving drivers to a different location. And what I'm going to demonstrate here very, very quickly is how you can monitor this from in one screen, two cities at once. Now, what you're looking at right now is routes that are already completed. They're ready to be sent to the driver. They already have been sent to the drivers. And we're going to press play on our OptimoRoute staff only simulator. And we're going to switch to the live tab. And you're going to see what this looks like in real time. So what happens is you can monitor your drivers from both cities, all in the one screen. You can see how each of the orders and stops are completed. And it's a nice way of looking at all of your operations in one screen.
That's cool. I think you mentioned it, right? This was where someone came to us and said, hey, we're looking to kind of expand our business. What's the best approach here? And so for folks who are, again, looking for help in that direction, or really kind of how they want to best optimize what they're doing in OptimoRoute, what's the first step they should take, Andrea?
Okay. So the best practices for expanding your business and leveraging OptimoRoute to do so is to always contact someone from the OptimoRoute team. Every business has its own unique workflow, and there's always going to be some details that you'd want us to run a sanity check on before moving forward. And then we can give you the best tips, tricks, and workflows to accommodate your expansion.
Cool. Thanks for that. I think we talked about it previously, right? And obviously, our second tip and trick is one where we know if there's a lot of feature functionality within OptimoRoute, and we roll out new features, and sometimes, unfortunately, our customers aren't aware of them. And so I thought the next one that we would really tackle here is maybe sort of a hidden gem, something that maybe some customers are aware of, but not the majority as you guys see it. Something that, again, can kind of improve the way people work with OptimoRoute and use it for their business. Devin, I'll start with you again. Is there some kind of untapped gem that we can kind of showcase to the audience in terms of feature functionality?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was thinking to actually touch on the drag and drop feature that we recently unveiled here about 2 months ago or so, if memory serves me correct. Uh, as many may or may not be aware, we do have drag and drop functionality now. It's facilitated through the timeline tab here, and it essentially allows us to grab, one or several orders and move them from one route to another. Now, that is great when you know exactly where you want to put any given order, but I'll just zoom in here. And what's very useful and what may not be immediately known by a lot of people is we have what we call intelligent drag and drop now. So by doing that or using this particular feature, it's as simple as selecting one of our orders in the timeline grid here and moving it to the driver that we think is most suitable for it, but actually dropping it on their name. So instead of placing it where we want or where we feel it should be, when we drop it on their name, the system is going to take into consideration all the different constraints that we have, including the working hours, any time windows, stuff like that. And so long as it fits, we'll see here the software has gone and said, or the algorithm has gone and said, hey, this particular drop, the way things are going, it makes the most sense to have that as stop 45. Now, I can go and make a lot of different changes. And luckily with this, anything that I may not want, I can click undo, I can redo, undo, whatever it may be, but I can make sure that I basically remain in the driver's seat for any of these changes that I'm going to make. At the end, we just mark it as apply changes or discard changes, and we're pretty much off to the races.
I think that's great. I think just as you mentioned, Devin, it looks like from using intelligent drag and drop, right? You're really saying let the power of data science help you figure this out rather than you trying to, like, say somebody called in sick or ended up half a day going home early. How can you get jobs done, orders completed, and again let the algorithm do the work? Is that the context here?
Yeah, exactly. Dispatchers and the people who are doing the planning, they generally have a lot of insight and understanding as to what's going on. So they may want to be able to guide the algorithm in a certain way, but this certainly takes a lot of the heavy lifting and basically will take the person who you want to have that job and make sure that they get it in the most appropriate time and place within their own route.
Got it. Thanks for that. Andrea, just a similar question across to you then in terms of a sort of hidden gem within the feature set of OptimoRoute that you can kind of share with the audience.
Absolutely. There we go. Share the screen. So what I'm going to be showing is one of our earlier but lesser known features. So this is a sort of a secret trick that you can use, and it's already available. If you're a user of OptimoRoute, it's already available to you. It's more than likely been available to you since the beginning. And we're going to go to a slightly similar use case from before, but we're going to go into a little bit more detail. So here we'll go back to Boston, friendly old Boston, and we have another service business with a whole bunch of jobs centered around their main depot here in Boston. However, because these are service workers, these particular service workers have all of their tools and equipment from their vehicles, which means they have the ability to start from home. It does not make sense to make your drivers, to make your technicians come from home to the office and start their routes from there. It's a massive cost on your organization. So it also, if your technicians live on the outskirts of town, it also opens up new markets for you. So going back to Boston, we have a number of orders in and around Boston, not that many, But we also know that we've opened up new markets out west. And the use case that I'm going to show here is a particular technician who's decided to leave Boston, set up shop in lovely Framingham. And how do we set that up in OptimoRoute? Well, very simple. You go to our administration drivers, and our good friend Daniel here, he has decided to move to the great city of Framingham. So we're going to type in Framingham here. In Massachusetts. Forgive me if I'm butchering the pronunciation. And what you'll immediately notice is that we have a brand new yellow pin with an S on it, indicating that this is the start location of Daniel Z. And so, okay, so how will OptimoRoute plan these routes? Will it take into account that Daniel is now starting out west? As a matter of fact, the software will. So now it's stock standard OptimoRoute. You plan these routes. And OptimoRoute will plan both of these technicians' routes accordingly. And you'll see that it's evenly spread the routes between east and west, those starting from the main depot in Boston and Daniel, who has set up shop in Framingham, living that nice work-life balance life while also contributing great values to the company.
Adrian, thanks for that. I just have two quick questions. One,
Right.
I'm not a dialect expert, but it sounds, and you mentioned both your examples are Boston based. So is that a Boston dialect that I'm hearing?
Oh, the accent comes from the land of throwing shrimps on Barbies and Fosters. It's not too far from Boston. You've got to get a bit wet to get there, but you could say it's walking distance.
Got it. And then I guess the second question is what you showed for folks that are actually tracking driver hours, technician hours out of OptimoRoute. I guess this would obviously help them make sure that the hours they worked are tied to exactly what they're doing, and you're paying accordingly. Is that something that was a benefit here?
Absolutely. We noticed that with what this does is it tracks more accurately how far and how long your drivers or your technicians are working for. So it gives you more accurate analytics at the end of the day.
Great. No, thanks for that. I think with that, we did want to leave time for you folks to, again, while I've got one of our implementation engineers and the folks that run our customer success team here, it's a great opportunity to kind of take questions that you might have of the platform and get those answered for you. So I did see one that kind of went back to Andrea, exactly what you showed in the first tip and trick, which was how were you able to set the secondary depot? I only have the option of one depot.
Okay. So the secondary depot is very similar in fact, I used the same trick in both examples. I just wanted to show them in two different use cases. So I cheated a little bit there. So what you do is to set up a secondary depot, you move the start location of the driver to wherever you want your second depot to become. Now, before you go ahead and do this, full steam ahead, contact us because there are some limitations, not enough time to go through all of it in this one webinar. But all you do is you follow that trick that I showed in detail in my second example. You move all of your drivers or technicians that will be starting at the new depot, or if you're creating new drivers, start them at this new location, and OptimoRoute will treat this as a secondary depot.
Great, thanks for that. Another question that came through in the chat, and again, just a reminder, if there's anything that the team can help with today, feel free to join into the chat and we'll try to cover it as best we can. The next question comes across in terms of how can you add a task to an ongoing route?
I can jump in on that one. So as everybody may or may not be aware, we do have a lot of different order types within OptimoRoute. Specifically, we have deliveries, pickups, and tasks. When it comes to tasks, it's actually quite simple as far as, again, there's two different ways. One could be that you end up actually using that drag and drop feature. We do have it now where if an order is unscheduled, you can actually move it onto a route directly from an unscheduled list. But when you've created the order, You can also simply edit a screen, edit the order, and a lot of people will move to the assigned driver field. Um, I'll actually even very quickly share my screen just so people get a sense as to what I'm talking about here. But yeah, essentially with the edit order field, in the edit order window, um, a lot of people will look at the assign to field and believe that that's going to automatically put that order onto that driver's route. Assign to is actually more of a communication to the algorithm. It's telling the system, this is the only person when we run through the algorithm and do the optimization. Jesse Hames here, he's the only person who can have that job scheduled to him. So alternatively, you would go down into scheduling and you can select there and you would select the stop, or as I mentioned, I'll switch to the day where I had copied our other order there. You can use drag and drop, which we'll notice here that we have on the left-hand side, this pop-up that says unscheduled orders, and we can go and move that again onto any driver that we want. Or another thing that's very useful is when it comes to planning routes, taking advantage of the different allowed changes options that we have. So for something, if it's while a route is live and their tasks, but you want to make sure that every driver or every technician maintains the route that they have with all the orders that they have, I would select keep drivers for planned orders and fit in the new ones, which again is going to make sure that everybody's route stays the same, except for those who can maybe be impacted by having an additional order added in there. And you just may want to make sure that all the drivers have enough time in their shift. So if you are getting any sort of notification saying, hey, this job won't fit, it's always best to check. It pops up right to the right of the timeline tab here, and it'll give you a general reason as to why a job may not fit in. So it's there's a lot of different things that can be affecting it, but hopefully that helps a little bit as to how you can actually impact a live route.
Devin, while we're on the timeline, we do have a question that relates to that. And so the question is specifically, can you drag and drop a work order to alter the start or end time of a driver's route?
So I guess quick question is no. The quick answer is no, not right now. But I think that's actually a fantastic idea to continue evolving with the interactiveness of that timeline. I could definitely see it being useful when you're focused just on that part of the dashboard to be able to move that up and down. So it's certainly something that I think is worthwhile to share with the development team for something in the future. But as I said, unfortunately at the moment, it is just for moving the orders around.
Got it. The next question, and I'll toss it up to either of you guys, right? Are you planning to develop a feature to send plan changes to drivers' phones automatically?
Plan changes to drivers automatically. Okay. That is a question. It's best if you call us directly and discuss your business needs for something like that. That's OptimoRoute secret sauce when we release certain things. But something like that is in it's definitely in the thoughts of our product team. But we'd love to get your thoughts on how you'd want that to function.
Got it. Next question. Is there a search feature where I can search for any past or current orders and find what day the order was completed or scheduled?
Shall we go through this one, Devin? You want
I was going to say,
the API?
It looked like you were lined up for it. I can maybe cover the a way that you can maybe narrow it down with the web app, and then you can maybe jump in with how it can be doable with the API.
Absolutely.
So currently, as Andrea had mentioned before, that is something actually that we want to be able to use as an exact functionality with our analytics. But currently, what I've generally recommended to people is we do have what's called weekly planning. Some of you may or may not be familiar with the feature, but it does allow you to not only plan across, or I should say up to 5 weeks at a time, but it also allows you to view those 5 weeks at a time. So just coming back to my account here, you can see when I select 5 weeks, I don't have much in the future weeks, so we're not going to see tons there. But basically, when you have the 5 weeks available there, this is when you could go and see, okay, I'm going to filter through the orders, and just because I happen to see the location here, Holy Spirit School. So I could type in and I'd be able to see how many instances there are there. So how many times that that location has come up. Um, Obviously it does require somebody to be aware of, let's say, just a general idea as to when they may have gone to a location, if they're trying to find a specific order. But this will give you at least a little bit of a greater view to be able to search and find specific orders.
Righto, I'll jump in. So, as I said before, every business has its own unique challenges, its own unique workflows. The biggest strength of OptimoRoute is you can look at it as a sort of a Swiss Army knife. It can be used in the most basic of situations to the most serious and complicated situations. The API adds rocket fuel to OptimoRoute. You can do almost anything through our API. And one of our latest API endpoints is called search orders. And I don't want to scare people with programming jargon and whatnot. This can be as basic or as complicated as you like. But what it allows you to do, it allows you to search for any order throughout your entire account's history. And it will return to you the exact date it was created, all the order information, as well as all the scheduling information. On the flip side, if you know that that order exists sometime in some month from 10 years ago or whatnot, you can search for all orders in that date range. And if you know, for example, it was a failed order from 5 years ago, you can search for that particular time period. It will return to you all the failed orders in that period. And then you can filter by location. But again, with something like that, now we're looking at the more complicated end of OptimoRoute, something like that. If you want something like that developed and you need help with it, give us a call.
Thanks, guys. The next question, I'll take it because it really is an easy one, and I'm probably most familiar with it. So are there archives of these past sessions so that can be accessed as more of an education? So we are currently updating, we're in the process of updating the OptimoRoute website. We are going to have a place for all of these webinars, a lot of our content, including podcasts as well. So as soon as that's available, we'll get a note out in our customer marketing channel that that's available, and where all of these are going to be saved and stored for that, of course. Next question across to you guys. Could you give more information on setting a service area, kind of setting up a driver fence to restrict drivers to that area?
Yeah, sure. I can jump on that one. I'll share my screen as well again. Basically, when it comes to sharing, or I should say creating driver service areas, what you do is within OptimoRoute, you go into administration drivers. And when you select one of your drivers, we would end up going to the option here that says service areas. So the way it works is it's going to automatically sort of be zoomed in on the start location. But when we go and click this polygon button or tool, similar on the Plan and Optimize page with our lasso tool, it allows you to click, and every single time you click, we're going to drop a tent pole, we can maybe call it. And when we close that off, that gives us this shape. So again, you can create whatever shape you want. And when we save it, we actually have a way so that you can see all of the different service areas. And I'm just going to hide my routes for now. But you'll notice here where we have these, let's say, leaflets or paper on the top right. When I hover over it, we can change, the different view that we want to use for the map. But you'll also notice here that we have service areas. So when I select that, we now see that our driver service area is there. And when I hover over it, we can see that is Brad Fitt's area. So any order that falls within his service area can basically only be done by him. And that's the quick way to get the service area set up for your drivers.
Thanks, Devin. Next question comes, sometimes driver working hours are not the same as the office hours, and they have to go back and update the times. Is there a tip or trick around that can help them in that regard?
So for updating the times, I'm not too sure, I guess, what would be getting updated, whether it's, the actual driver's times or whatnot.
I think they're
But
referring to driver's times is kind of the scenario, I think, Devin.
yeah, if this is on, say, a daily basis, I suppose if you need to make sure to account for a change on a day-to-day basis, um, I generally recommend going into the planning settings here. Now, not everybody may be familiar with this view. This is the advanced view that comes with the weekly planning feature that we have. Again, as I mentioned, you're able to see multiple days. But when I go to the basic view that everybody may be more familiar with, on any given day, you can go in and change the working hours. So this is going to be different from the default working hours that we have set for our drivers. So if you just happen to know that, hey, tomorrow so and so is going to be working at whatever time, even if their route is already created, there's a couple things you can go in. If they have a route, you can go and say, okay, 6:30 till 4:30. You'll notice again, just sort of drive home that when I move to the side, that it does affect only that one day. But when you do make that change, a quick way to sort of have it reflected in a route that's already created is you can actually select that route, and it's it's a bit of a quick and dirty solution. But what you can do is select that driver, reverse their route once, and then reverse it again, so it's the way it originally was. But what happens is because there's been an active change, it's actually going to update to reflect the new working hours that that driver has. So the 6:30 a.m. start, for example, or if we moved it later to be say 9 a.m., it'll take effect after the very first change when we reverse the routes. But of course, we already know which direction we want them going, or we're satisfied with what direction they're going. So we'd reverse it back. That way, it's the normal sequence. And then it's just a matter of, again, if it's for a future date, when we click send to driver app, we do have the option of having a delayed send. And that way, everybody's more or less prepared to go when they're ready to go, and not worrying too much about when dispatch comes in.
Thanks for that, Devin. Devin, I'll toss this back to you because it's another drag and drop question. Is drag and drop a basic feature, or do you need something special to enable it?
So we believe everybody's special. So everybody has access to this drag and drop feature. It's a part of all of our subscriptions.
Thank you, sir. Andre, a question for you. Is it possible to edit several drivers at once? So in your example of the second depot, can I set 8 drivers at the same time that you did that one?
You can edit some high level aspects of the driver, for example, their speed. But to get into the details, you will have to edit the drivers individually.
Thank you, sir.
However, through the API, you can edit them all at once. Again, that's send us an email. We'll set up a call, figure out your business needs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Got it. Another question: is it possible to add paperworks in an order? So bill of lading, invoices, etc.
Aha, that's a very good question. So, in our implementation team, we develop as part of our proof of delivery section in the mobile app, custom proof delivery forms. And so, as we all know, in our proof of delivery, we give you the standard notes, photos, signatures. However, all businesses are unique in their own unique way, and they all have their own unique requirements. And so what we do is we have a quick 10 to 15-minute discussion with the business, or even an email saying exactly what they want to see in this form. What we then do is we put together a custom version of proof of delivery, and then we send you back screenshots. And if you give us the thumbs up, we implement it. What this means is whatever information you want to collect as part of this invoice in your proof of delivery, we can accommodate that.
Cool. Thanks for that. Devin, going back to you, so mapping during the import in the current day, like location name or location ID, If that's changed, can that be changed without changing the previous completed history?
So, assuming that's speaking about, say, maybe a customer has moved, so they're no longer at that location. Generally, that should not affect any previously completed or built route. Basically, when a route is created, um, any changes to the actual location, so the pin of that location, should stay locked in place. And if you ever actually do want to see it updated, you'd have to unschedule that order or the route. And that's when that movement will actually happen. So um, essentially, the way to do it is the way you always can, where when you import a new location or you update something that's already been stored within the location directory, uh, it's going to reflect the new changes only with new instances, from this day going forward.
Got it. Thank you for that. A quick question came in about if they have several orders to the same location, are you able to do that without making that or adding them in without multiplying the duration of the delivery?
I'll jump in on that one. Without multiplying the duration of the delivery, yes, we have a feature called check-in time. Now that was originally designed to account for, driver arrives on location, and whilst even though they're at the location, it takes them 10 to 15 minutes to find parking and start the job. However, if you assign a duration of 0, so let's say you have 5 jobs at one location, and you know that it doesn't matter how many deliveries you have to make, it's going to take 10 minutes in total. If you give each of these 5 jobs a duration of 0, but a check-in time of 10 minutes, then that means that doesn't matter how many orders you drop off at that location, they will all be serviced in, or OptimoRoute will account for that 10-minute duration while they're there.
I'll
Cool.
even quickly show where that check-in time is, just so people are aware. It's part of the location field here. Hopefully everybody can see that.
Visual always helps.
There you go.
Cool. Next question came across. Do we have a project to add barcode scanning? So there's a couple of additional product enhancement suggestions in here. We're going to pass those on to product, and we'll also follow up with you guys. But barcode scanning, I know firsthand because we've been talking about it. This is something that's very near. We're talking about a few weeks in terms of being able to get it out and available. So as soon as it is, we will update the audience, both in a what's new notification in the app, as well as a customer communication. Question, can you guys go more into capacities and being able to limit the amount of stops on a route or limiting the amount of stops per vehicle?
Yeah, I can cover that. Basically, it's all about setting up your orders and your vehicles to reflect what you actually want to be happening on that day. So the key thing here, I guess, is going to be to make sure that the vehicles themselves have a capacity. So we can see here that I have actually created a capacity called maximum stops or max stops. So this is where we can actually change it. Basically, we would double click to open up the edit vehicle window, and we can adjust this, however, to set the default vehicle. To actually create the capacity, we go into capacities here, and we can modify them in any which way form we would like. And basically, this allows you to really personalize and customize things because not everybody works with volume or weight. It can be the number of boxes, or in this case, if you have technicians and you want to limit the number of stops they have, then as I've done here, and then you again just make sure that each driver has a default vehicle assigned to them so they can inherit that capability. When it comes down to it, again, we need something to play off of it. So it's a matter of just making sure that our orders have a load size, as it were. And here I've just basically gone ahead and said each one of these orders has a load size of 1, which represents that it is 1 stop. And when we plan it, this ensures that the driver never exceeds that limit. This is very useful when maybe you have more junior people joining joining the team, and you want to make sure that they're exposed to only a fraction of what maybe some of the more experienced people are going to be exposed to. So you can go in and do that. And lastly, you can again always make day-to-day changes within the planning settings window. This is where you don't have to be limited by default information or default configuration. You can go in and adjust this so that for just this day only, I've gone and said, okay, this particular driver can only do 40 stops. And when we plan it, again, it's going to use the order size within each order, or the load size within each order against the maximum capacity that we set for that driver. Bart, you're on mute.
Sorry, thanks, Devin. We're going to take a couple more in the interest of time because we want to try to keep these folks. We want to keep the sessions in the right time, but we have a couple more questions here. During a live update, and there are multiple updates listed, but I need to send only one update to a specific driver. How can this be done?
So that's a tough one, simply because currently you are sharing essentially an entire day. So I suppose in this way, if you have just the one update for a specific driver, it would be something where once you've made that update, I would share it immediately. Again, it's being broadcast, let's say, to all the devices. But if only one person experiences a change, they're the only device that is going to have that change. But once you have sent that to the apps, it's just a matter of then going back and continuing on with the additional changes. That's sort of the benefit of being able to make changes and have a prompt to send them. Kind of gives you a sandbox to do whatever you may, make mistakes, make changes that you're not happy with, and then realize it by actually clicking send routes and share it with all the drivers.
Great, thanks, Devin. Is there any way to change the location of several orders all at once?
So, I mean, in my opinion, I'm assuming that there's an API way of doing this. So Adrian can maybe speak to that very briefly, but I would say that's a difficult one, just as far as are you changing them all to the same location, or do you want to simultaneously change 3 people that have all moved? So yeah, it's something that is probably best if you contact support, so that way we can have more clear context, I guess, as to what the actual scenario is. But yeah, Andre, if there happens to be a way with the API, maybe you can share.
Unfortunately, not. It's a similar process. However, it's just done extremely quickly.
Cool. One last question here. Is there any way on notes to change copy or change or copy in a note and update it automatically moving forward on all future notes?
So, assuming that the questioner, the asker, is talking about the order notes, and that's specifically, when you click edit order and you have that notes field right there, that information is saved with that instance. So that exact order maintains, that's where all that information stays. One way, I guess, to have it constantly show up would be to use that copy orders button that I had mentioned before. But alternatively, this sounds like a use case where you could probably benefit from using location notes. Location notes work by storing that particular detail with the location itself within the location directory. So every time you use that location, it's always going to appear. And a location note appears within the mobile app, similar as an order note. So it's just going to be one above the other. So you can basically use 2 fields to make sure that you include as much detail as possible to your driver.
Great. Well, thanks for that, guys. I do appreciate it. As I mentioned, there's we are going to jump. If you send any question, we didn't cover it, we will get back to you directly. I also thank the folks that have given us some product enhancement ideas. We will get those to our product team ASAP. They look to, we obviously work with a lot of our customers who give us great ideas and great insights all the time. With that being said, we do want other insight from our audience today in terms of potentially the next type of tips and tricks that you guys are looking to see from us. So I'm going to send across a quick survey and see what, if you can just give us a quick response as to kind of the tips and tricks you're looking for. We'll pull this into the next tips and tricks webinar. We do have something planned for October. As soon as we have that date locked and loaded, we will also get out an invite to everybody. So do appreciate the audience for joining us today. Devin, Andrea, thanks you again for your time and all the feedback. And on behalf of OptimoRoute, we wish you guys a great day and thanks for being customers. Take care.